Collins Oyu, who is the Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Teachers, is here. As we went to the break, looking at some of the things that we said, you're saying it's right now, for KUPPET teachers to go back to class. There are also certain things that have happened, and I've been of the opinion, and we have these conversations quite some, that TSC, as mandated by a CBA, because you rightly said, it is lodged, it is deposited in court,
correct,
making it legally binding.
Right.
Whereas two parties, in this case, between unions and the TSC, have made an agreement, which is what a CBA is.
Yeah.
It is legally binding for them to follow the elements and tenets of that CBA.
Correct.
In the event that that does not happen in a timely fashion, there is abrogation of that agreement.
Correct.
In this case, by the TSC. Now, should they come back to the table and make an agreement about how they're going to move forward, or in this case, like you said, implement a certain number of things? We're going to pay you, it becomes evident in your August pay slip. We're going to sort out some issues. You go to hospital today as a teacher, those things are sorted out. If that has all been sorted out, why would we have a situation where TSC goes to court and puts in an injunction so that strikes must then be called off, number one? Number two, has its officers going around country and saying, those of you who have not shown up to work, we will now issue with show cause letters. And then number three, goes ahead to say that there's a court injunction in place, and if you don't get back to work, we give you show cause letters, and at the same time, even a further discussion we will not have with you until you come back to work. Meanwhile, it is the TSC who went against the tenets, like you've admitted to, of the CBA. But now they're playing hardball.
Right.
Why?
Now, I think TSC, where they sit, they have actually implemented the second phase of the CBA. If they didn't, you are right to go to court. And in that case, court would have forced Teacher Service Commission to comply. And because they feared we'd go to court about this, they simply complied. And as I told you, teachers have earned their second phase in arrears, July and August.
You're saying this money has been paid?
It has been paid.
Let me ask the question. There was a delay, there was a threat that was occasioned by that notice. Is it that the TSC genuinely did not have the money, or is it that for some reason or the other they did not prioritize this?
I think it was not a delay.
Yes.
July 1st and our pronouncement in August, that was no delay. They totally refused to pay. They didn't pay. It was not a delay. A delay can be a couple of maybe days and weeks, and you tell us now there's a delay.
Yeah.
They literally refused to comply. The second phase was to commence on the 1st of July.
Tell us a little bit about the second phase.
Yes.
What were the details of this second phase?
The second, the CBA 2021-2025
Yes.
was cashless. Cashless. There was no monetary value at all.
Yes. We're talking about things like leaves, specifically paternity leave, such things like this,
There was, based on the COVID-19, that was the explanation from SRC, that with the impact of the COVID-19, now the Salaries and Remuneration Commission has directed that new CBAs shall not have any cash component. We accepted after deliberations, but we pegged our hope in the review clause of the CBA, which came in 2023. The review clause gave a monetary gain of the CBA at 2.5 to 9%, which was spread in 2 years. And we signed. Then the agreement was, this shall be paid in two phases. Phase 1 was paid in January last year. Phase 2 was to commence in July this year. By the end of July, There was nothing. There was nothing. We got into August. Then we were asking Teacher Service Commission, what did we agree? What was the agreement? Where is phase 2? Are you stopping us from commencing the new CBA 2025-2029 by stopping the payment of the second phase? Now, when the worst came to the worst, and we made a pronouncement of the industrial action, very quickly, Teacher Service Commission went around looking for money. They first called us, they told us, no, look at the Finance Bill 2020. We told them, no, that is not our business. We made an agreement. This was deposited in a court of law, the Employment and Labor Relations Court. Please comply. Comply. We cannot run away from this. You go look for money. I don't know where Teacher Service Commission got the money. And it is now paid in arrears. Teachers have earned their July bit, and the August salary has the second phase implemented. Yeah.
It's very interesting that something that on the face of it we were discussing, it seems fairly simple and straightforward. Well, it isn't, and it can't be, because of the number of times that your union and KUPPET have actually spoken clearly and said, look, if these matters that we agreed upon are not met, this is where I'm going with my question, my thinking. Must it get to the point where there is a strike notice for the TSC to do what it knows very well it's supposed to do, because they also agreed to do that? They signed off on it.
Correct.
Everything about it.
Correct.
They were part and parcel of it.
You're right. You're right.
Yes.
And that is the same question we're asking. Must we give a strike notice so that we have peace? What is happening? So even in our further discussions with Teacher Service Commission, I think we should take this seriously. Look at the situation in our schools now. Who is to blame? Is it the unions of Teacher Service Commission?
No, I don't think so.
It is Teacher Service Commission, because if you agree, surely comply.
Right.
Must we pronounce a strike action?
You mentioned a couple of times the CBA 2025-2029.
Right.
Why is it necessary? If things are running, well, obviously they're not, the manner in which they should be, is it necessary then to continually have CBAs in place? Because it's almost as though we are saying, we need to have something legally binding, that somebody will come and check up on you in order for you to do your job the way in which it's supposed to be done. That we need to have a legal setup in place in form of a CBA. Because if we do not, then the likelihood of you to do this run away into the sunset behavior that we've been seeing is going to increase. So we're trying to finish this 2025 one, and so that we can quickly put one in place so that you can check yourselves as a commission. It's not a deterioration of the process all the time having to have a CBA in place, because without one, it's evident that you will not do what you're supposed to do.
Now, CBAs must be put in place after every 4 years. That is the running cycle of a CBA. And in fact, ILO made a proposal that the best, with the current inflation globally, a CBA should have a life cycle of 2 years. We are still going by the 4-year cycle. Why? You know, our consumer index keeps on changing. Inflations keep on changing. We cannot be static. Prices of commodities, keep on shooting. Now I have a team, a technical team that is working on a new CBA based on the current commodity prices.
Because it's
sugar 5 years ago, 4 years ago, it was not the same.
So are you saying that if there's no CBA in place, that there's so many things that will change and nobody is going to ensure that those things are taken into consideration for the welfare of members?
Correct.
Okay.
There must be a CBA in place.
Okay.
And I want to tell you, our CBA is based on the industrial charter, based on the constitution of this country and the relative labor laws in this country. It has to be there. Yes. For workers, there must be a CBA.
There's a plea that's coming from those who are taught, in this case, in my opinion, primary stakeholders. They are the students.
Right.
They are. And there's a plea from them that, look, especially from across the country, the almost 1 million Form 4, 800,000+,
Right.
who are saying, we're taking our exams. This is a review term. And we're already 1 week down the line
Right.
without any guidance. Do you think it's when we hear those voices that we should then, everybody should say, okay, fine, for the sake of the students, go back to school? Is that something worth?
No. You're also parents. As teachers, we're also parents. And if the right thing has not been done to the teacher, the impact of staying out of school will also affect my child. So let us consider workers first. But in a case where issues that should be addressed have been addressed, I think it is important that we resume work and, withdraw the industrial action. If it were not for the implementation of the CV, which could not by any way, be escaped by Teacher Service Commission, I want to tell you, things would have not been the same. Yes.
It would have been much more different.
Yeah, but for these other issues that I've listed down here, I've been briefed you, like the third-party deductions, even our own members of the NEC confirmed that the position now is that Teacher Service Commission has remitted third-party deductions to banks and SACCOs. Yeah.
Okay. Joining us now is the Secretary General of the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, Akelo Misori. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
We were hoping that you would have been here some, 45 minutes ago.
Yes.
But
it was not easy because of the events that you know of.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, there were some subtle meetings.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm very sorry.
But I'm glad that you're here.
Yeah, in fact, you can see how I revere this studio viewers.
Asante sana.
We thank you for the honor and for the respect and for coming.
Indeed, very grateful that you've come. And yes, your meetings have been going well into the night. Your meetings have been going, well past midnight into the next mornings. And it's good to hear some perspective from you as well, because this is one situation that the whole nation, not in part, but that the whole nation is involved in when we are looking at students, gone back to school, but we're looking at the fundamental issues that affect teachers. Akelo, give us a situation report, essentially, of where we are, with some elements taken into consideration. We've heard what the TSC has said. We know they went to court asking teachers to go back. We know that KNUT teachers went back to school on Monday, withdrew the strike notice, essentially, and that KUPPET declined to withdraw the strike notice and have said, we want TSC on the table. But then we're also hearing that there are certain demands which have been met by TSC, but KUPPET still holds fast and says, we're not doing this. What's happening?
Thank you so much. I think I would have been more free to talk when my brother is not here. But now that you have chosen to have him here, I don't know whether when I throw a punch, you'll stop it.
Well, don't worry.
He's your brother. So the likelihood
of you throwing a punch is...
that can come from a brother to kill a brother.
No.
Yes, it is true that industrial action that we are involved in was part of a very protracted arrangement that we had involved ourselves in, together with our brother at KNUT. He is aware that we visited their offices. They also visited our offices. We had joint arrangement and how to handle, because in the past it has been separate ways. But that granted did not work, because we moved after the last minute, and we were surprised that the demands of the teachers had been met. We were surprised, because after the last day when we had a meeting at School of Government, he is aware that the Teacher Service Commission told us, after very protracted and after a lot of side rows, which themselves are the ones who created, because they did not want KUSNET to be part of the the discussion.
The discussion.
In fact, with us, we had not known why this one was an issue, but apparently this one was a strategy to suck us deeper into the war. Now the war began. The Teacher Service Commission gave us in word that we now have the money to pay.
Okay.
Full implementation.
Okay.
And then we said, where is it?
We want to see it.
We want to see the implementation schedule. Because Teacher Service Commission is an enabled commission and independent, which works with, if they were looking for money to implement the CPA, then what they had already worked on how it works. So it was not there. But the Teacher Service Commission wanted us to address a joint press, which both of us refused. So we left.
Yeah.
And we told
because you had not seen tangible move towards implementation of what they had said.
of the CPA.
Okay. All right.
Secondly, there were also others, which himself is the one who summarized that we have 4 other issues. These 4 other issues, what are you saying about them? At some stage, there were emotions. And then they said, no, what was cut crossing is now given. What else do you want? I want to indicate here that the relationship between an employer and employee in that social dialogue platform is that one of equality.
Yes.
It is not that one of God giving a human being a covenant. That one is called a suzerain. He read theology. I know, because he was almost becoming a priest. If it was not because of this kind of behavior. So what happened? They read that we have given you an employer. Then he said, if you are an employer, good. But how are you going to handle the following? That one was also just in word. So that's why we are where we are. So we both sides moved. In fact, they were very fast. And we compared notes. They moved and called their steering committee. They met. I also met my board.
Yeah.
He told me they are calling their NEC, and according to them, they are not satisfied.
Why would there be conversations in silos when there was a joint notice of strike?
That is why I'm talking about treachery. Yeah, and in fact, dishonesty of the highest order. But that one is granted because we are political formations. Anything can happen.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Are you saying that the monies that were promised, your members did not receive?
When
Were any payments made, or is there evidence that any payments were made?
there was no payment up to yesterday. After yesterday, when there is proof that there is payment. Some banks have received the money, but not all the banks.
Okay.
By yesterday. But that day we were talking at Kenya School of Government, the CEO to the commission was in a hurry to leave to go and pay teachers. And it was not paid also. Even out of the time, we were now asking our members to make a decision on industrial action. There was no payment. There was no proof, there was no circular which could convince them that this thing has been done.
So, Akelo, what you were waiting for in this sense is if there had been some proof, even somebody has said, Nime Bonyeza sent, that, money then has been paid. Are you saying that we would have said, okay, guys, there's some goodwill. We have seen that something at some level has been done. Come back to school?
That is always a consideration we make when a move has occurred. That consideration I cannot be in control over because I am a mouthpiece of an organ or organs of the organization. I don't need to load it on them because that is what happens. So even if that one had happened, there were a host of other issues which there were still gray areas. Now let me just tell you another issue, because in the interest of the child which my brother would want to drum upon us, I don't know whether they are better teachers than us. That one is one. But who has made concessions in this? If the Teacher Service Commission is genuine in this, we are in a relationship. In fact, if they have gone to court, they have secured court orders and so on. That one I cannot discuss its merit because it will have it light in court. I will address myself to this. You are in a relationship. The house is burning, and from outside, instead of bringing water, you bring what we call petrol and even some peppers, and you fuel it.
Yeah.
So what happened is that when they went to court, they got the ruling ex parte, and that ruling, the first person to have informed us about that, there's a court order, were the press. Members were informing us before we were served. So
this is coming.
This is coming. And already with them, that one was on a Tuesday. The strike began on
Monday.
So, my brother has never organized a strike at the national office. He has been a participant when he was in the branch. It is easier to start than to end. I see. It is not a walk in the park. I see. So we are asking them, why don't we get away, because we are in a relationship, whether you have bruised me. Like, for example, in the family, you can choose to tell your husband or your wife that we have children here. If we continue with this kind of fight, the matter may be in court.
Collins is here, though.
Yes.
And he did say, he's right here, and he did say that actually he's taking the children into consideration and said, you know what, certain things have been done.
But let me tell you.
Had the implementation...
Let me just tell you one thing.
Just a second, Dakelo. If the implementation, the July phase 2, had not happened, then we would be in a totally different place here.
Correct.
But according to what he's saying, that, okay, they've done something. What we've asked, they've done. In consideration of that, go back. Is that what you're saying, Colin?
Correct. Allow me to give some response, and I'm sure you'll also be blocking my blows from hitting hard on my brother. I'm happy he mentioned that I was to become a priest. I think that is why I'm very honest.